What's going on, PhinManiacs listeners, and happy Friday night. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the PhinManiacs preview. Alongside Matthew Morin, I'm Brandon Liguori. And Matthew, you take a look at that game this past Sunday, the Miami Dolphins losing 45-17. I don't really know how many positives that you can take away from a 45-17 loss. Maybe we can say, hey, the Dolphins at one point, they had 2 first-half leads. But before we get into that, how's everything going, buddy?
Everything's going good. I'm happy that the game's over. That's the one positive I can take from it, that it's over. How about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. I'm nervous, and I'm nervous for a bunch of reasons. Number one, the Dolphins, they're playing a team this, and we'll get into it. They're playing a team this upcoming Sunday across the pond in London at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time against a football team that has lost 20 consecutive games. That's right, 20. The Jacksonville Jaguars, led by head coach Urban Meyer, they haven't won a football game since week 1 of the 2020 season. And you made a really good point before we started the show. Teams like that are very dangerous. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the dominance of Tom Brady. I feel like we always talk about Tom Brady, hence why he is the greatest quarterback to ever touch a football. When you looked at that game last week, not even really last night, because he did play another marvelous game last night in Philadelphia, Tom Brady this past Sunday throwing for over 400 yards, 5 total touchdowns, 2 of which went to Mike Evans. Are we seeing now Tom Brady playing better football in his 40s than when he first got drafted in the year 2001?
Yes and no. I think he's done a great job of holding his body up and making the right choices in that regard. But I saw a tweet earlier today, and the username is I'm forgetting it right now, but it was a great point. Is it really that he's playing the best football of his career, or that he has the best, or one of the best, if not the best, offense in the league with the easiest schedule? And
good point.
We gotta be real about it. I mean, Brady's amazing, and he is the greatest of all time. But I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit. Father Time is undefeated, just like he has 7 titles, and it will not lose. So, we'll see what happens with him. I don't think he's going to play till 50, like he says. But
the NFL always throws surprises. But look, I was taking a look at the Buccaneers schedule last night towards the end of that football game, and they do play the Buffalo Bills at Raymond James Stadium in mid-December. That game currently is scheduled for 4:25, but don't be surprised if that game gets flexed to maybe a Sunday night game, because a lot of people want to see Josh Allen and Tom Brady in primetime football, no?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's can't miss. That's box office, as Stephen A. Smith loves to say. I'm quoting the Allah of this field. That's primetime. That's box office. Everybody wants to see that. There's a few quarterbacks in this league that everybody kind of turns the channel for. Brady and Allen are definitely in that group. So yes, absolutely, that will get flexed. Seeing as these teams continue to do what they're doing, would not be surprised at all if it gets flexed to Sunday night.
So big game Sunday, right? Like I said, Dolphins traveling to London, and London really hasn't been a very sexy place for the Dolphins. I mean, you take a look back, I think the last time they won in London, I want to say 2014 versus the then called Oakland Raiders. Again, London really has not been kind to the Miami Dolphins. And Brian Flores, it's a very interesting Jacksonville Jaguars team coming, because they really honestly have nothing to lose. I mean, they're 0-5 this year. They haven't won a football game, like I said, dating all the way back to a season ago in their season opener. I believe they defeated the Indianapolis Colts in that football game. I mean, Matthew, when you take a look at this game, it's going to be a 9:30 a.m. game on the Eastern time. I believe there it's going to be around 2:30, 2:45. What in the world are we expected to see? And, hey, I think Tua Tagovailoa, who missed the last 3 games with those fractured ribs, that's the biggest storyline. He may play this upcoming Sunday morning.
Right, yeah, Flores came out and said, if everything goes well in practice, he's going to start. And it's looking like that is the case. So, yeah, we're going to see Tua back. Hopefully he is close to himself. I can imagine it's pretty tough to be yourself after something like that. As far as what we can expect to see, like I said before, in pre-show, teams like this that haven't won in a long time, that are looking for that little, spark of positivity, they're dangerous. They have nothing to lose. Jacksonville's been in the headlines for the wrong reasons, obviously, with everything going on with Urban, and that's a whole nother conversation in itself. And I want to get your thoughts. Like, how do you think they come out? I think they dictate how this game goes as opposed to us, which is sad because Miami's the better team on paper. But how do you think they come out?
I mean, I honestly agree with you 100%. Teams like this really don't have anything to lose, even though Jacksonville's division, the AFC South, it's not really one of the more stronger divisions so far through 5 weeks of play. Right. But really, rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who he's not really used to being in this spot, right? Because him at Clemson, he dominated. Him in high school at Cartersville, Georgia, he dominated. So him and really Coach Urban Meyer, they're not really used to this 0-5 start. So right. I'm thinking maybe because the Dolphins are on a current 4-game losing streak and the Jacksonville Jaguars have yet to secure their first victory of the 2021-22 season, don't be surprised if you see the Dolphins trail early 7-0, maybe even 10-0. They're going to have a quick momentum in this game because, like I said, I don't really know the exact record, but I know the Dolphins have not won a game in London at least the past 4 or 5 years.
Right. I think the last one was, like you said, against then Oakland, right? Mm-hmm. I think we were with Tannehill, and that was a fun game. That was actually a watchable offense. It was good. But yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think the team that comes out the fastest is going to win this game. According to like the situation for what it is. In most football games, whoever starts off faster probably has a better chance to win, right? But it's not guaranteed. Yeah. In this scenario, I'd probably say it's guaranteed because neither team has shown that they can come back from a bad start, right? So I think all the chips lie in whoever starts faster. So Miami needs to establish something in the run game, something offensively, and build some momentum and try to get some confidence against the Jaguars defense. That's not the best, last week against you're going against the champs. It's different. You're in their house and you're trying to get something going. And do you really believe in yourself? I don't know. That quote from Gaskin is a little telling after the game. So I think someone asked him, what do you guys think of yourselves? And he was just kind of mustering words together. I don't think he really believed what he was saying. So this is a locker room that needs confidence, clearly. Coaching staff that needs confidence, clearly. So they've got to start fast and build it that way, in my opinion.
And, really, we take a look at that final injury report that always comes out, early, mid, Friday afternoonish. And the first two names that you see on that injury report, cornerback Xavier Howard, who really did not play well last week when shadowing Antonio Brown, because Brown did have 2 touchdown scores. And you even looked at that one play where Brady found Brown, catch and run touchdown score. Brown completely, busted Howard, and we don't really see that a lot. So he'll be out Sunday with a shoulder/groin. Devontae Parker, who missed last week's 28-point loss, he'll be out with a groin/hamstring. I mean, Matt, what does that do now for an offense led by Tua, his first game back since week 2, knowing that Devontae Parker won't be out there? Maybe, is this going to be a breakout game for Mike Gesicki, Jalen Waddle, or even Preston Williams, who he's right now listed as questionable too?
Well, yeah, just to touch on Xavier a little bit, that was the play against Antonio Brown. I believe it was like an intermediate crossing route, and you could tell on, when Antonio turned it upfield that Xavier's dexterity just wasn't there. I could tell that he had some hesitation turning his hips and really going. And that's indicative of a groin injury. So I feel like that's the more pressing issue. And obviously as a corner, you need your hips. If you don't have your hips, you don't have the same mobility. It's tough, especially in this league with all the speed. And you don't want to risk, anything further with Xavier, a guy like that. And then as far as, the offense without Parker, to be quite honest with you, I don't want to be too rough on Devontae. I like him as a player. I've always, tried to be positive about him since we drafted him. I think it's going on 7 years now. This is a normal thing. He's in for a couple weeks and he's out for a couple weeks, and then it's one on, one no, one on, one off. It's very inconsistent. And I know that's not his fault, But at the end of the day, this is an offense that is probably used to Devontae not being there on a consistent basis. So use Gesicki more. That's a guy. I think that's our best target. He's our most versatile target. Fuller and Albert Wilson haven't really done anything of substance, and those were supposed to be your two key contributors on offense as far as downfield. And Tua coming back, I would hope that he'd lean on Waddle and Gesicki because those two guys are really the best ones in one-on-one coverage and against any coverage. So I would tell him to look for those guys first, for sure.
And speaking of the run game, Matt, we kind of know by now the Dolphins are not really the best team in the NFL when it comes to running the football. But hey, against a Jacksonville team that will be without linebacker Miles Jack because of a back injury, do we maybe see a breakout game from whoever's, whether Brian Flores is going to go a running back by committee approach? I don't know whether it's going to be Miles Dashton, Malcolm Brown starting. Whichever that running back is, I think the Dolphins, they really don't want to be one-dimensional. You don't want to have Tua come off IR and automatically start throwing the ball 40, 45 times. So is this maybe a game where we finally see Miles Dashton break 100 rushing yards, or even Malcolm Brown maybe score 2 touchdowns in the red zone? How do you see that really playing out?
I think it's possible. I think you could compare Cincinnati's and Miami's offensive line. I would give the edge to Cincy, but they were able to run the ball all over them. Granted, they have I forget the running back's name. Excuse me.
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, yeah, he's solid running back. Always has been. Probably better than Gaskin, but at the end of the day, they were able to run the ball at will. So this is the type of game that Miami can build confidence in the run game. This is the type of game where you can build that morale as opposed to the rest of the season where you can't get anything going. Maybe this can kind of turn the tide. We can run the ball against an NFL defense. We can do this. Maybe this is the week that it turns around and they can start building on something. Momentum is everything in sports, nonetheless, football and nonetheless in the NFL. So hopefully, I think it's possible. I don't think it's something that's too far-fetched. I think Miami can do that.
What about we talked about Brian Flores, we talked about Urban Meyer. These are really two energetic guys who, love the game of football, who have been around the game of football for a very, very long time. And these two coaches are coming into this game this upcoming Sunday morning, a combined 1-9. When you see something like that, I mean, unless there's a tie in this game, someone is walking out with a victory. So
right.
If the Dolphins somehow lose this game, somehow, we know we've been fans our whole entire lives. We covered the team. We've seen crazy ways that the Dolphins just find random ways, quote unquote, random ways to lose football games. Matt, if the Dolphins walked out of this football game 1-5, your first reaction is going to be what?
Not shocked.
Why is that?
Not shocked in the slightest, because this is the type of game that they lose, and then Miami will go out and win a game that they're not supposed to win. That's how it's been my whole life. That's how it's been your whole life. So it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if we blow the doors off this team. Miami can easily do both, and that's like so concerning in so many ways. But it is what it is. These two coaches, Urban's been coaching way longer than Brian Flores, but I don't think Brian Flores is used to losing at this rate either. His first year he started pretty awful, but I don't think you can hold that on him. That was more about what he had as far as personnel.
Correct.
But he was able to take that team and get them to win the better half of the second leg of the season. So Urban's been in college, he was at Florida, he was at Ohio State, and then he's not really used to this kind of thing. So and then you see the video of him talking to I believe it was the defensive coach for Baltimore.
Mm.
And he said it's like playing Alabama every week on defense. So I don't know if he's overwhelmed or if that's like, him saying this is really tough, but they've got to get it together, both of them, because I think they hold themselves to a way higher standard than what they're producing on the field.
I mean, really, the Dolphins defense last week, and, I really didn't even touch on much of the defense just yet, but you can't give them really any credit concerning last week's performance. I mean, we gave them credit week 1. We gave them credit really week 3, even though the team fell in overtime against the Las Vegas Raiders. But, Matt, you can't give this team credit last week. After really coughing up over 500 yards, I understand they were playing a future first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, a quarterback who's won 7 Super Bowl rings. But you cannot give the defense credit. The defense giving up, like I said, over 500 yards. Did it really shock you at all, Matt, the way Tom Brady was able to pinpoint his receivers from the start of the game, really, to the end of the game?
No, I'm not surprised. I think the key to that really is the start of the game. You have to believe that you have a chance to win the game. Correct. And I don't think the defense went on for their first series thinking that. And I think that comes down to effort. So when you're playing, and you feel like whatever I do doesn't really matter, you're not going to play your best. And that's just the fact of it. So that the lack of a pass rush, Brady's got – there was one play where he literally stood still in the pocket for like 4 seconds. And 4 seconds in the NFL is a long time for a quarterback. That's like an eternity. A lot of quarterbacks would kill for that. They'd be like, give me 4 seconds.
Tua would kill for it. Yep. Tua would kill
for it. Because Tua's used to like less than a second. So he had 4 seconds, and he literally did not move his feet. He did not shuffle at all. And he was still able to go through 1, 2, and 3 reads. So I think that's effort. I think that pass rush is just they're bulldozing and they're not doing anything of substance. It's just
of course,
kind of just wasting energy, So,
and I think Brian Flores really made it. He touched on the shuffling offensive line because it seems like every week we have Austin Jackson at either left tackle, we have Austin Jackson at now left guard. First we had Liam Eichenberg. They didn't really know whether they wanted to put him at left tackle, right tackle, left guard. But I think Brian Flores, in his press conference this morning before Friday's practice in London, he did say that they're going to go with the same offensive line. So that means that Austin Jackson will start Sunday's game at left guard. That will put Jesse Davis, I believe, back at right tackle. And I know Dolphins fans are probably not going to like that because if you flash back to week 2, Tua's injury was caused by Jesse Davis' missed assignment at the right tackle spot. The center probably is going to be Greg Mance because I don't see Michael Dieter off IR just yet. But Matt, when you take a look at that offensive line last week, it wasn't sexy, it wasn't great, but I can definitely you can definitely agree that there was moments where you say, okay, maybe Austin Jackson is better at left guard than maybe left tackle.
Right. With a team like this, you're looking for anything to kind of like look at and be like, okay, there's a little bit of momentum building here. And there were some moments with Austin Jackson that you could see maybe he's better at this spot. This fits into his game more. Being at this spot on the line is more tailored to his game as opposed to being out on the tackle. It's rough, man. How many offensive line units have we used this year? It feels like we have a new one every week. This is the first time that we're using the same one twice.
Correct.
Right? So whenever you're constantly shuffling that unit, it's not easy. There's no way you can have the same type of approach, philosophically on offense when the most important unit is never the same. Mm-hmm. So I would tell you that Miami needs to be very cautious of the fact that Jesse Davis is blocking Tua's blindside because that is probably the most concerning thing about the game. Not even really, if we're going to win. I just don't want to see Tua get more hurt. Jesse Davis is just – I don't want to badmouth the guy, but he's not a NFL tackle. I don't see it. In the play where Tua got hurt, he literally just I forget who was next to him, but pointed out the rusher.
That was right guard, so Robert Hunt.
Robert Hunt pointed out Epinesa.
I remember you did, yeah. I remember, I believe 2 or 3 shows ago when we were first dissecting this. I remember you first.
I talked about it. Like, you literally were. It got broken down to the simplest level, and you still couldn't even get a hand on him. So
unless Flores makes a last-minute change before the start of kickoff, expect Jesse Davis to be at the right tackle spot, and that's honestly going to be one of the first positions that I take a look when Tua, whether he's in shotgun or whether he switches to play action. That's probably going to be as soon as he's in shotgun. I'm looking right at my TV screen. I'm looking right at the right. I'm going to look right at the right tackle spot because that has to be really the same position that 99.9% of Dolphins fans are going to look at because they don't agree with this decision putting Davis at right tackle.
Well, Tua's whole career in Miami, I've been afraid to look at the tackles on both sides, his blind side or the side that he can see. And that's because last year I was nervous about him being in too early because of the hip. And he even admitted, last year he didn't feel himself. Now this year with the ribs, I'm going to do the same thing as you are, but I'm going to be very afraid to look at Jesse Davis because it's just, I can't have confidence in that guy. I can't as a fan. I can't as a football fan, not even a Dolphin fan. There's no way you could look at that guy on film and be like, yes, I want him protecting my franchise quarterback's blind side. There's just no way. So that's really what it comes down to. Jesse Davis needs to find a way to play better. That's as simple as you can get.
The simplest way. Jesse Davis, find a way to play better. Matt, before we wrap up tonight's show, we love doing predictions. We have to do it. This is a 1-4 versus an 0-5 football game. This has to be the most watched game coming week 6, right? I mean, you take a look there. We got the Chargers and we got the Ravens. We got Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Monday night we got Buffalo, Tennessee, Tannehill, Josh Allen. But this 1-4, 0-5 contest, this has to be the most watched game come week 6, no?
100%. Anybody with a brain would watch this game over everything else, right? I would.
Oh man. This is a 9:30 a.m. start on the East Coast. So whether you're going to be making French toast, waffles, or if you're going to be sitting in front of the TV with a Dolphins jersey on crying, as long as if they pick up a victory, whatever they got to do, whether it's coming back from down 14 in the fourth quarter, whether it's building a 21-0 first quarter lead and somehow a Jason Sanders game-winning field goal to win 27-24, whatever the hell you got to do to pick up your second victory of the season, I'm telling you right now, you can't lose against an 0-5 football team. So I'm going to take the Dolphins, and I'm going to also take the Dolphins with the points because I know you want to laugh at me last week for taking I did take Tampa Bay to win, so I did win that. But I did take the Dolphins to cover that 10-point spread. Don't ask me why. Do not ask me why.
What did I tell you? Man, my score. I think people drink in Miami regardless of the time. But I think a lot of Dolphins fans, if they lose this game, a good percentage of the city will be drinking before 12 noon. So in saying that, I'm still going to take the Dolphins. I think they pull one out. And
so do they cover those 3 points?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think they win it with a touchdown.
All right. So we both have the same.
I think they win it with a touchdown. I think Tua's going to throw a touchdown.
Oh, man.
I think Tua's going to throw a touchdown to win the game to
who?
Matt Hollins.
Matt Hollins.
I don't love Matt Hollins.
I have no disrespect to Matt Hollins. He's a great special teams guy. But, you really don't ever hear Matt Hollins when it comes to the offensive side of the football. You're always just seeing him make great plays on special teams and doing these random celebration dances.
Right. So, Brandon, you're not seeing the beauty of my prediction. He's not the likely guy. So, Tua's going to throw a touchdown to Matt Hollins to win the game, and we're going to win 27-20. That's going to be how it's going to go.
So I didn't give an exact score prediction. I don't necessarily think it's going to be that high just because we're looking at two teams. Well, maybe it could be that high, Matt, because you got two defenses who really can't guard sometimes. You have two defenses who love to play soft coverage too. And with Xavier Howard ruled out, that may, spoil greatness really for Trevor Lawrence, who's still looking for his first victory as a professional football player. Doesn't really matter. I'm taking the Dolphins, and I'm taking them to cover those 3 points. Give me Dolphins 21, Jacksonville 17. So they barely cover that spread.
Okay. All right. Hey, listen, I don't know. They could score. Everybody could score. This is the type of game where, slugfest, all defense. Lawrence isn't going to do anything. Tua isn't going to do anything. I don't know. I think we see some
at least fans are, everybody in this game wanted to see a Trevor Lawrence versus Tua Tagovailoa game. They wanted to see 2 first-round quarterbacks go at it. They wanted to see who was going to come out on top. Because I can tell you right now, if we were talking about a possible Jacoby Brissett and Trevor Lawrence matchup, I was going to take Jacksonville. I was going to roll with Jacksonville. I was going to take Jacksonville. Whatever that spread was, whatever the odds makers in Vegas had, I was going to easily roll with Jacksonville.
I would have put my savings account on Jacksonville, 100%. But anyway, what was I gonna say? I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a big play from Miami's offense for once. Like, give me Waddle on a double move against one of these corners. He's gonna get open, and it's gonna be beautiful. And I hope Tua sees it because I know he could make the throw. We'll see.
Well, hey, Matt, the Dolphins do not have to worry about Jalen Ramsey, but
no, thank God.
So before we wrap up tonight's show, Matt, what are your weekend plans? Where are you going to be watching this game? An early Sunday morning game, and I believe me and you also are jumping. You and I are also jumping on a podcast with Jason Sarney and the rest of the PhinManiacs crew early Sunday morning. So I don't know if I'm going to have maybe a plate of waffles or maybe run to IHOP before that game, but. How do your future plans look for this upcoming weekend?
Oh, like always, man. I'm watching football. I'm watching all sports. The NBA starting soon. Hockey just started.
Yep, the Florida Panthers picking up that.
See if the Panthers can do something. See if they can do something.
And the Panthers are going to come this year. Stop.
No, I've been hearing that nonsense for 3 years now. We'll see. I'm a fan. I'm not going to root for the pilot to crash the plane, but I'll probably hit the beach. Have some good times with the family, watch some football, watch a lot of sports like always, and just enjoy the weekend.
Well, Matt, it's a pleasure as always. Let's hope the Dolphins pick up their second victory of 2021. This has been the PhinManiacs preview, recapping week 5, previewing the biggest game in week 6. And yes, I'm talking about the 1-4 Miami Dolphins and the 0-5 Jacksonville Jaguars. For Brandon Liguori, Matthew Morin, thank you, everybody. Enjoy your football weekend. And again, this has been the PhinManiacs preview. Fins up, everybody.